What is going on, guys? Hope you guys are having a blessed and wonderful day. Get my little walk in for the day. As I'm walking, just wanted to share a quick message with you real quick. God put it on my spirit to share this message with you, and I pray this message helps someone. But I'm just going to get straight into it. I'm just taking a little break. But as you see from the title, I just want to tell you right now, no matter what situation you're in, no matter what you're going through right now, I want you to know and believe that it's not bigger than God. It's not bigger than God. No matter what it is, it doesn't matter what it could be, what financial problem you're having, health problem, any problem that you're having, it's not bigger than God. I've made a message like this before, but the more I just keep going through life, the more I just really understand this. You see what I'm saying? And it's like it's something that you just have to repeat it. It's just something that you got to keep repeating in your head over and over again. Like, this is bigger than God. Like, you really have to ask yourself that question, man. You really have to look at look at the problem that you're going through, whatever situation you're going through, look at it and really ask, is this bigger than God? Can God really not get me out of this? Can God really not help me with this? And if you really think about it, you know the answer is, of course He can. Of course He can get me out of this. Of course He can change this. But you have to know it and believe it. And you have to stand on that. Because let me tell you, anytime you're trusting in God for something, your faith has to be tested. Your faith has to be tested. Your faith is going to be tested. I know that's not something that you probably want. I know that's probably not something that you want to hear in some of these times and situations. I mean, I can speak for past experience myself. It's like, I used to think to myself, like, why do I have to get tested? Like, haven't I gone through enough tests, God? Why do I have to keep getting tested? But no, seriously, what that does is it builds character, man. It builds character. It builds endurance. And then that's gonna build hope, not just for you, but for somebody who's looking at your life. They're gonna look at your life and be like, dang, if he could get through that, if she could get through that, dang, I know I can. If God can bring them through that, I know He can bring me through this. You have to really change your perspective. And that's one thing that God is really teaching me, that's really been big for me right now. It's like changing your perspective in your situations. It's like, all right, maybe I need to take care of this at a certain amount of time, or there's a certain date or whatever, right? In my head, I'm thinking, like, if it goes past this date, it's going to be like all hell is going to break loose if I don't get this paid by this day, right? You could think like that. All hell is going to break loose if I don't get this done by this day. But what I've learned from my own personal experience is, like, God don't care about no date. God doesn't care about no date. God doesn't care about a date. God determines what happens and what's not going to happen, you know? And then it's like you have to change your perspective from, like, well, maybe I don't have it right now, but when I really, really need it, I know God is going to show up for me. I know God's going to come through for me, right? But here goes the thing you have to understand. It's like you're putting so much trust in God, right? And you're having so much faith in God, and when things don't happen, don't get mad at God for when things don't happen, man. When things don't go your way, don't get mad. Like, don't feel like God is, like, not for you, or don't feel like God has left you. Don't feel like that. Because I can tell you from my own personal experience, I know I say this so much, but a lot of things didn't happen for me when I wanted it to happen because of I was being disobedient. A lot of times I wasn't in alignment with God. A lot of times I was, like I said, being disobedient. And I know a lot of times we don't want to admit that, but, you know, self-reflection is really, really key. Self-reflection is really, really key. You have to really sometimes ask yourself, like, well, this didn't happen, or God's not really moving for me. What am I doing wrong? Sometimes. Well, it's if you know you're doing wrong. If you know you're doing wrong and then something doesn't happen, then you already know. But it's kind of a little different if you really don't know just right now. You have no idea. It's a little bit different, but I'm speaking for, like, someone, like, if you know that you did wrong Know that you didn't do right. And you're expecting things to go your way. Why? You know you wasn't in alignment, right? And then God's not going to bless you in your sin. Like I said, it's a little bit different when you have no clue. But when you kind of get up to that level, man, where you're aware of what's going on and you're aware that you're making mistakes, and you're aware you're doing something wrong, it's a little bit different for you. And so if you're in that space, you got to mature, right? And like I said, that's not something that, we want to hear sometimes. But it's the truth. Like sometimes it's just a level of maturity, right? I'm moving on to something different, but when we're doing stuff that we know we shouldn't be doing, and then we're still expecting God to do certain things for us, and it's like kind of don't work like that, right? And so we have to stay steadfast. We have to learn to be steadfast because God is steadfast. So we have to learn to be that same way, right? And then sometimes we might say things like, well, it's taking too long, or I'm getting weary and stuff like this, and God's not moving when I want to, like stuff like that. Just being very, very impatient. Like I said, I used to be that same way very, very bad. Like, I used to be so impatient. Like, let me tell you, very, very impatient. But we have to learn to be like God in these situations. We have to learn to be like God in these situations, man. That's why I said, in whatever situation, remember who your God is. And just do the things that he would do, right? Let's be honest. We go through times where we continuously mess up, right? We continually mess up. We continually go back to the same stuff. We do the same stuff over and over and over again. But yet, God is still patient with us. He gives us grace and mercy. Yet, God is still patient with us. As we're developing. And a lot of times when we go through this development stage, we have those moments where we mess up, we screw up, we backtrack. But God is still patient with us, though. And that's the thing I had to realize. Like, he's still patient with me as I go through my little moments when I was backtracking, right? He's still patient with me. And so it gets to a point where you really have to start asking yourself, like, well, if God is patient with me, why can't I be patient with God? Why can't I be patient? If he's patient with me, why can't I just be still, take his word for it, and be patient as well? You have to really start asking yourself questions like this. Like, why can I not be patient like God is patient with me? And I know, like I said, you probably don't want to think like that in certain situations, but you have to. Man, you have to do some really, really deep diving. You have to really, really do some deep diving in certain situations, man. I'm telling you. Like I said, sometimes you got to ask yourself, is this problem really bigger than God? And then you'll come to realize, like, no, it's not. That's why I said, no matter what situation you get in, always remember who your God is, man. Always remember who your God is. You might think God is taking too long, but God is on time. He's always on time. That's literally in his word. He's always on time. And then a lot of times you might think, well, God's not going to come through for me. But if God said he's going to come through for you, then he's going to come through for you. You just have to learn how to trust. You have to learn how to trust and take his word for it. Take his word for it. Isaiah 55:11. I don't know it by heart, but basically God's word never returns to a void. So God is not going to lie to you. If he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. Now, the thing is, he's just not going to tell you when he's going to do it. That's the thing about it. He's just not going to tell you when he's going to do it or how he's going to do it. But we have to kind of let go of that control. That's kind of like a controlling spirit right there, where we want control over every situation. We want control of how it's going to go, when it's going to go. We just want control, right? But you have to realize that God is the one in control. You have to let go of that spirit, that pride that you have, and understand that God is the one who is running the show. Humble yourself. You got to humble yourself. You don't have to know every single detail. You don't have to know how this is going to go. You don't have to have full control over it. But what you have to do is trust God. You got to trust God, man. You got to trust God. He will come through for you. But you got to stand. You got to stand. And it might take a little time. Might. But then again, it might not. But still, you still trust God no matter what. No matter what, you still trust him. And so that's why I say, no matter what situation you get in, remember who God is, man. Don't forget who God is. Don't forget the miracles that God can do. Don't forget. And so that's all I want to share with you today. Pray this message blesses you today, helps you out, kind of calms you down a little bit, hopefully. But as always, God loves you. I love you. Like, subscribe, all those things. Peace.